Hello, Quora readers. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and today I answer another Quora question. This one, related to personality stuff, which is where I mostly do my Quora answers. It is the question: does conscientiousness relate to optimism? I think it's a great question. And does it say who wrote these questions? Let's find out. Is there an association between optimism and conscientiousness? And my initial answer to that is, first of all, yes, absolutely there is. But second of all, it's not perhaps what you'd think. It's kind of counterintuitive. Um, One might logically reason that a person is more optimistic if they're more conscientious. By being conscientious, they've taken care of more of the variables. Therefore, they can more accurately predict what's going to happen. So their conscientiousness then allows them to be more optimistic about what the outcomes are going to be like because they've put in the legwork necessary to get the outcomes that they're trying to get. So there's good reason for optimism. But that's not how it works at all, I don't think. I think it's the opposite. I think less conscientious people are more optimistic because optimism is the ability to believe, it's faith more or less, the ability to believe in positive things without in the absence of evidence. So given that optimism is a form of faith, given that optimism is a form of faith, it necessarily follows that the person who has more need for, who has less reason to believe the future would turn out well, is the one who's going to have more optimism. I mean, I guess that would definitionally be the case, except for the fact that optimism has a decision component being expressed as positive feelings about the future. So you could try to say, well, he's being optimistic when he says we're only going to get maimed. Um, that would be considered finding a silver lining, not optimism. Uh, Optimism is assuming that things are going to go well, that the future is going to be bright, that if there's a problem, you'll figure it out. And if there's a barrier, you'll get over it, and all that kind of stuff. And that everything's going to be fine, and that things are golden. That's optimism. I've got plenty of optimism. I got optimism coming out of all of my orifices, every single one. Plus, it's about to start making new orifices. That's how much optimism I got. The pressure. Oh, too much optimism. Well, that's my optimism hole. Um, Conscientiousness. I'm not that conscientious, although I'm gonna go do conscientious shit in a little bit. I made a call, made a schedule a time, and I scheduled it to give myself about 20, 30 minutes to chill before I gotta leave. Because I don't want to leave right away ever. I just wanna, yeah, let me play it first. I want to play it first. Well, say a person with that attitude doesn't have a lot of good reason to be optimistic. That's what makes it optimism and not fact or something. Uh, but perhaps that's what enables them. Maybe it's the optimism that enables them to not be conscientious, and or the optimism is necessary if they're going to be able to live with their lack of conscientiousness, or well, okay. Here's another angle one could evaluate these things on. You could argue that the optimistic person is more likely to be conscientious because they're preparing for everything going correctly. Or you could argue that the pessimistic person is more conscientious because they're preparing for inevitable problems. If you see optimism and pessimism simply as forces of anticipatory difficulties or anticipatory successes, like I anticipate that we won't have any problems in this area, so I'm not gonna spend money on a backup laptop before I go to the tournament because my laptop might break in the middle of the tournament. That's not a good use of resources. That's not a good anticipatory expenditure to prevent harms. But maybe I will get car insurance because maybe that is a good anticipatory expenditure. There's too much of a risk over the long term that I'm going to crash my car and then it might cost me too much money, so I'm going to go ahead and get the insurance. That might be a decision I make, right? And then if I'm anticipating easy goings, like if I'm anticipating everything's going to work, well, what if it doesn't work, Eric? What if it doesn't? We'll figure it out when we get there then. Don't worry about it. That's always been my attitude. Everyone wants to talk to me about, well, what if this, what if that, what if we just start doing what I'm saying to do and we'll figure out as we go? It's fine. The point is that the general idea is correct. Once I have proof of concept of something, I don't want to hear a bunch of complaints about the details of the implementation of it. To me, that suggests that you aren't focusing your energies in the right place. And it annoys me. It's like, okay, if we're doing this thing, I don't want to be in the survey the field of battle and predict out extrapolate out from what we see possible avenues, possible outcomes. I don't want to be in that part very long. I want to get moving. So that requires optimism. It requires a default position that I'm going to figure out as I go. I would suggest that perhaps optimism correlates more strongly with one's own life experience of the correlation between your action and outcomes. So optimism probably would correlate strongly with an internal locus of control and a belief in one's own agency, a belief in one's own ability to implement change in others and in the world around them. If you have a belief in that, if you have that internal locus of control, then you're likely to be optimistic because you believe that when situations arise, you are endowed with all that you need to handle it. That when good things happen to you, it's because of something you did. When bad things happen to you, it's because of something you did. It's not. It's not. It's not because it's certain. Oh, that happened because of circumstances. Excuse making is external locus of control. So if you're making a lot of excuses and saying, the reason I'm poor is because of this external thing or that external thing, then you're going to stay poor. And if you say, the reason I'm poor is because I need to make more money and I haven't done this and this, and here's some other possibility things I can do to make a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, whatever, well, then you won't stay poor long. And so the problem is people's locus of control changes over their life. It's not a personality trait. It's something that you have to develop. You have to learn to believe in your own agency. And it's difficult because they train us to believe the opposite for our entire lives. If you want to see an optimistic population of people, have a population of people who were raised to do raised doing two things: playing as they want to and doing real work for real reasons. Then you see an optimistic population. It's hard to come out of school optimistic. You've been forced against your will before you had a chance to develop your will and know it was against your will even. You've been forced to learn the ways of this hierarchical system. You've been forced to endure busy work. You've been forced to do stuff for which there's no purpose except that you've been told to do it, to train you to obey. That produces pessimism. Liberty produces optimism.